Hi guys, welcome back. In this tutorial, we'll be looking at adding general detailing to our design. So the first thing we're going to look at is adding the skirting, which are what connects your flooring to your walls. They kind of follow the perimeter of the wall. And the second thing is the cornices, which are similar to skirting. They connect your walls to your ceiling. So they follow the perimeter of the wall around at the top. Okay, and to make these two, to make the cornice and the skirting, we're going to use this railing tool here. But before we can use that, we need to create the models that this railing tool is going to use. So let's start by going to File, New, Family, and we're going to scroll down to Metric Profile Rail. Okay, so let's open this up. And first we're going to make the skirting. So this creating the family kind of gives you a empty template for you to build on. So we're going to build our skirting in this template here. Okay, so first thing we want to do is create a line, and we're going to create a rectangle. So start in the intersection in the middle and create a rectangle that is 66 centimeters high and 66 millimeters high and 18 millimeters thick. If you can't get it exact, that's okay. Just make it approximate, and then you can click on the rectangle and change the dimension here. So, so let's make this 66 and make this 18. So now you can see that it's no longer centered. So we can just select everything, move, click on the corner, and move it back to the center, like that. Okay, and the shape that we're making for the skirting is called a half splayed shape. So we need to create another line, and we're going to go to the halfway point here at the top, and it's going to cut down to halfway on this side, like that. Then we're going to use this trim tool not the trim tool. I'm going to use this split tool to split the line there and split the line here. And then we're just going to select these two and delete it. And there we go. So that's our half splayed shape. So now we're going to save this, and we're going to save it on top of, sorry, I already have one in this folder, so I'm going to save it on top of this one and just call it the skirting. Okay. So that's the skirting. Now we can click on Load into Project to add it into our project here. So now we've loaded the skirting. We also need to make the cornices. So let's go create another family. So New Family. And again, we're going to go down to Metric Profile Rail. And here instead, we're going to make the cornice in this lower right quadrant, because it's going to be connecting to the ceiling here. Okay. So again, we're going to go create line, and here we're going to make a line here that is 70 centimeters. 70 millimeters. Sorry, I keep saying centimeters. 70. And it's going to go down 13 millimeters. So if you scroll in, it'll let you be more accurate. And then we're going to create another set of lines this way. So again, 70 millimeters. And then 13. Okay, And now we're going to measure from here. We're going to go into a distance of 40 millimeters here. So we need to create another line here. Oh, sorry, let me use this measure tool so it actually saves the nope. Okay, let's use the split tool. Okay, so if you scroll out, you can see at the bottom it gives you the length of the line that you're going to be cutting. So we want to cut from the right 30 millimeters like this, and we're going to cut from the bottom 30 millimeters as well, like that. And then we're going to select these two lines here and delete. Then we're going to connect the two line segments like that. And finally, to make this, to complete the shape, we're going to make a curved end here. So use start end radius arc, and we're going to select one endpoint, select the other endpoint, and then move your mouse. It will automatically snap to creating a perfect circular arc here, like this. Okay, so just click to confirm it, and that's our shape for the corners. So we can save it again. So let's call this the cladding. Oh, sorry, not cladding. Cornice, and save, and load into project. Load it into, yes, this project. Okay, so now we have the shapes for the railing. Now we're going to actually create the railings. So let's, in the architecture tab, railing tool, and we're going to go edit type, and we're going to duplicate this type and call it skirting. Now for the skirting, we need to disable use top rail, so uncheck this, and we're going to go into rail structure, non-continuous, insert, call this the skirting, and we're going to go to profile and select the skirting profile that you created. Okay, and you can change the material here. I'm just going to leave it as is for the sake of this tutorial, but you can change the material of this skirting to match, for example, your door frames. Okay, so click OK. So now we're ready to draw in the skirting. So for the skirting, as a rail, it has to be one continuous line. So you can't draw multiple segments that are disconnected from each other. You'll have to do those separately. Okay, so for this tutorial, I'll just be working on bedroom 3. So to start with bedroom 3, we're going to start with this wall here. Let's trace the perimeter of the wall like that. And we're going to make another line for this wall and another line for this wall. And we're going to stop at the door here. Okay, we don't want the skirting to go through the door. So that's it. That's the first part of the railing for this room. So complete. And it gives you a warning that balusters couldn't be made. That's fine. We don't want balusters for the skirting anyway. So you can ignore that warning. So if you look in the open roof view now, you can see that the skirting has been added. Okay, so that's the skirting there. And we're still missing this little section here. So let's add that in. So again, to save time, you can click on the railing, the skirting that you created just now, and type CS, create similar. And we will place another one here like that. Click OK. And you can see here that the skirting has been created inside the wall. And so to fix that, we need to click on it and select this arrow icon here. It's a bit difficult to select. If you're unable to select it because it's inside a wall, or there are a lot of things in the way, just mouse over where it is and press Tab until it's highlighted, and then you can select it. Okay, and here it's still not letting me click on the arrow, so I'm going to go into the 3D view, and it'll let me select the arrow here. Okay, so you can do it in the 3D view, and there we go. So that's the skirting. So you will need to repeat this for all of your non-wet areas. So every wall other than the walls inside the bathroom, laundry, and ensuite will need to have skirting. Okay, so you'll have to trace the perimeter of all these walls here like that. Now, obviously, with these, for example, the kitchen, with the cabinets, you won't be able to see the railing behind them. So you can just stop at this point and then continue down here. Okay. All right, so that's the skirting. Let's move on to the cornices now. So the cornices are very similar. They use the railing as well. So let's make a new one. Edit type, duplicate, and we're going to call this the cornice. Okay. And then we're going to go rail structure, non-continuous, edit, change this to cornice. And we're going to change the profile to the cornice that we imported. So this one. And again, you can change the material as you see fit. Click OK. And now we want to make sure that we set the constraint to actually the ceiling. And we're going to have the base offset. Oh, sorry, no, base offset is fine. Okay, so because remember in the template that we drew it underneath the center line. So with a base offset of 0, it should draw underneath the ceiling. Okay, so let's try drawing it in now. So for the cornice, you can actually draw over the doors because they'll be placed above the doors. So it's fine if your cornices go through the doors in this case. Okay, so for this room, it's a very simple shape. So I'm just going to use the rectangle tool and I'm going to draw the cornice in like that. Finish. And if we go to the open roof view, we can see that the cornices have been added like that. Okay. So obviously we can't see the ceiling in this view, but the ceiling is at this level. So if we go to the visibility settings, VV, and we add in the ceilings, click OK, you can see that the cornices are connected to the ceiling there. Okay, so you'll need to repeat, again, similar to the skirting, you'll need to repeat adding cornices to every room, including the wet areas. So yeah, you'll have to trace the perimeter inside each room and add the cornices that way. Okay, so let's hide the ceilings again. So that's the skirting and cornices. All right, so now the next part, I'm going to look at adding the external cladding. So for the external cladding, you'll notice that currently we only have a single wall that is serving as both an internal wall and an external wall. So if we were to change the material for this external wall here, to change the appearance of the external wall, it would also change the appearance of the internal wall. So what we want to do is instead separate this. We want to make a second wall layer on the outside. Okay, and I'll go over that in the next section of the video. Okay, so to add the external cladding, we actually need to change these external walls into a different wall type. Okay, so let's start by clicking on one of these external walls, and we're going to go edit type, and we're going to go duplicate here and call it the external wall. Okay, And so click OK for now. And we're going to hold Control and select the other three external walls. And click here and change all of them to the external wall that we just made, like that. Okay. Okay, so now we can create the cladding profile. So we need to create a new family, similar to how we did the skirting and cornices. So let's go to File, New, Family. And we're going to scroll down to Metric Profile, this one. So before we use the Metric Profile rail, here we're just using the standard metric profile. Open it up. Okay, so here we're going to make the shape of each individual cladding plank that's used for the external cladding. So let's create a line, and here we're going to make a rectangle that is starting in the center, and it is going to be 10 millimeters thick by 230 millimeters high, like that. Okay, so this is the shape of a single cladding plank, and now we're going to rotate it. So select the entire thing, use the rotate tool, and click on center of rotation, place, and we're going to place it up in this upper corner here. And then we're going to click in this vertical direction, and then we're going to rotate it by 3 degrees. Like that. Okay. So now it's a bit too much rotation, so we need to adjust it a little bit. So we're going to go Create, Line, and we're going to make a line that is going to be 25 millimeters above the center and 10 millimeters across, like this. And then we're going to, again, just hover over this rectangle, press Tab so that you select all of it. And we're going to rotate. Again, place center of rotation up here. And we're going to select this endpoint, and we're going to rotate it to this line here. Okay, so now we can delete this line. And again, select everything. So hover over it, press Tab, click to select. And we're going to use the Move tool to move this shape down to the center. So directly vertically down like that. And that's the shape of our cladding profile. So now we can save it, call it cladding, and we can load it into our project. Okay, so now that we have the profile, we can actually add it to our external walls. So let's click on one of these external walls, go Edit Type, and under Structure, Edit. Okay, and here we're going to go to Preview and change this view to Section so that you see this vertical profile of the wall. Now we're going to click on Sweeps and click Load Profile and navigate to where you saved your cladding profile and just open it up. And now we're going to change the profile to the cladding one. You can change the material to whatever material you want for the external cladding, and make sure to set the side to exterior, and tick Cuts Wall and also tick Cuttable, like that. So if we click Apply now and OK, we can see that it's added one piece of the cladding at the bottom of the wall. So we need to repeat this step. So if we click on this one, we can click Duplicate. So let's duplicate it a bunch of times. And we're going to change this distance. So let's change this distance to 205 millimeters off the ground level, like that. So that's okay. So it said that it was overlapping. That's fine. So you see here that it's made a second cladding plank that's 205 millimeters above, and you see that they connect like that. So that's what we want. We're going to do this until it fills up enough of the wall that it meets where our roof would be. So in this example, so if we click OK for now, that's fine. Oh, hold on. I need to delete a bunch of these because they're all overlapping. So let's just have 2 for now. So we go to the 3D view. So the actual 3D view with the roof. You can see that it's added the cladding like that. And we need the cladding to go all the way up to the top of this roof here. So to see how high that is, let's go to the elevation view. So let's go to the east elevation view. And we're going to measure this height. So from where the bottom of the external wall is up to the top here. And it's approximately 3.9 meters. Okay, so approximately 3.9 meters. We need to keep adding planks until the distance is at least 3.9 meters. So let's do that. So back to structure, sweeps, and we're just going to duplicate this. To make this faster, you can type equals 205 times 2. Duplicate equals 205 times 3, and so on and so forth. So I'll just quickly do this. And that should be it, but let's do one more just in case. So 20. Okay, click OK. And you can check the wall profile here. Make sure you entered everything correctly. Click OK. So outside of its wall. That's okay. So let's go to the 3D view. Okay, so you can see that the cladding looks good. However, because the roof isn't thick enough, it's actually protruding out of the roof like that. So we can fix this by just making the roof a bit thicker. So let's change the roof type to 400. Oh, that's too thick, but that's okay. For this example, I'll just make it 400, but you can adjust your roof thickness so that it's not quite so thick. Okay, just thick enough that it covers this cladding. Now, another problem that you might notice is that if you scroll in, you see that the cladding kind of protrudes into the windows and also the doors. It's less of a problem with the door here, but the windows are definitely affected. So you can fix this by clicking on the window, and you can change, let me hide this window. Okay, you can change this trim projection external. Okay, so if we double this value, so it's 19 at the moment, if we double it to 38, oh, this window is actually, it's on the wrong side. So the external actually changed the internal. So we can fix that by going to the ground floor and just flipping the window like that. And you see now that the window looks fine with the cladding. Okay. And you can do the same for the other windows as well. So if you change the trim projection external and it changes the internal instead, you can just flip the window. So go to the ground floor plan, make sure the window is selected and click on the arrow icon to flip it around. And then it should look okay. So you can repeat that, that step for all the windows and it should look like it does here. Okay, so that's the external cladding. I hope that was helpful. Next, we're going to be looking at adding detailing to the roof. So we're going to be adding the fascia and the soffits, and also the downpipes as well. Okay. Okay, so for the roof detailing, let's start by adding the roof fascia. So the roof fascia are kind of the end plates that are that surround the perimeter of your roof. So these will let you change the material of the roof in the rendering software without affecting this outer edge. So it will end up looking a bit better. Okay, so let's go to architecture, roof, and we're going to select the fascia tool. And we're just going to go around and select all the outer edges of the roof like this. Okay, so once you've finished, you'll see there's a fascia here. But because our roof is quite thick, the fascia doesn't actually cover all of it. So we can adjust the roof thickness. So let's do that now. Let's do that now. So let's select all of these roofs. And we're going to go to edit type. And let's duplicate this. And let's make this 200 millimeters. Let's try this. And we're going to go edit structure and just change the thickness to 200. Click OK. And we can see that it's not quite thick enough. You can see that the cladding is still protruding through. So let's increase the thickness a little bit. Let's make this 220. And we can rename it. Okay, so that is that looks good. You can't see the cladding anymore, and the fascia are able to cover the roof border. Okay, we can also add a fascia along this edge here, between the slope of 20 degrees and the slope of 5 degrees. And it will just give you that nice edge. I'll give you a good defined edge there. So in the render, it will look a bit better. So let's do that. Architecture, roof, and fascia. We'll just select this edge here. Okay. So that's the fascia. Now let's look at adding the soffits. So soffits are the underside of your roof. So they'll generally be along the bottom of your roof here. So okay, for the fascia, let's open up the soffit roof soffit tool, and we're gonna, for the boundary line, we're gonna select pick roof edges, and we're just gonna select this veranda. Okay, and we're gonna change the level here to the ceiling, and if we just leave it as is and click finish edit mode, we can see that this is what it looks like. So the soffit is a bit too thick, so it's protruding above the roof. So let's change that. Let's duplicate this, and let's change this to, let's say 150 millimeters. And edit structure, change the thickness here, 150, and you can change the material as well. So generally this will be a kind of plaster. So let's just change this to a white. So the same white that we've used for the internal walls, whatever it might be. So for this example, I'll just use laminate. Okay. So that's the soffit. You can play around with the dimensions a little bit so that it doesn't jut out on the sides here. But overall, that should be okay. It's not very noticeable in the final render. Okay, so that's the soffit. Next, we'll move on to adding the gutters and downpipe. So gutters are so water, when it rains, water will flow down your roof and into the gutters, and the gutters will be on these horizontal sections of your roof here. Okay, so let's add those. It's quite easy. You just go roof, gutter, and you can just select this edge here, and it'll automatically place a gutter for you. And we're going to do that for everywhere where there's a horizontal edge. So here the edge isn't level with the ground, so it doesn't let you place a gutter there. But there is one at the rear, so we can place one there. And that's it. So for this design, there are two gutters, one at the front and one at the back. And then we can press escape to close out of the gutter tool. Now finally, we need to add the downpipes. So downpipes are they bring the water down from the gutter, and the water flows down a downpipe to the ground. So in Revit, we can model these using components. So architecture, component, and we're going to load a family here. So in the Revit library, it should be under maybe pipe. Nope, not pipe. Plumbing. And others. Here we go. So we have downpipes, a circular one and a rectangular one. Stick to using the rectangular ones, but it's not really that noticeable. So you can use either one. So for this example, I'll use the rectangular one. Open. And this is what it looks like. So if we go to the ground floor view, you can see that it's basically like a column. So we place this here, attached to this column here, like that. And we go to the 3D view, we can see that the downpipe is in the wrong orientation. So it's like that. We want it to kind of bend forward this way and then up into the gutter. So let's undo that, and we're going to rotate. We're going to rotate it. Now we can't tell which direction it is, so let's just try this. Okay, so that doesn't work either. So we need to rotate it 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Place. Now, obviously, you can just place it and then rotate it using the rotate tool. That's probably way easier than having to do this guesswork. Okay, so now we have the downpipe like this. Now, if we go into the edit type, we can actually change the length here. We can also change it if we scroll down in the properties. We can change it here. So let's change this offset. We play around with the values until it looks how we want it. So if we quickly go to edit type, we can also see that we can change the angle here and also the material of the downpipe. So generally, you can change this material so that it matches the material of your gutters and also your fascia. So your fascia and also your gutters should have the same material, and also your downpipes will use the same material as well. Okay, so let's change these values around. So downpipe depth and width refers to the cross section of the pipe. So right now it's a 100 millimeter by 100 millimeter square. We'll just leave that as is. And let's change this angle to, let's say 20 degrees. And now you'll see that because we haven't changed the height here, it's kind of messed up the shape. So that's fine. We can change this offset. Let's change this offset to 100. Okay. It's a bit closer, but we need it even less. So maybe 50. Okay, I think that looks good. And now we can change the height. So height 2 refers to its upper height here, and height 1 is where it starts to bend. So if we go to the east elevation and we look at the gutter, we can measure its distance to the ground level. And we can see it's 3095 approximately. So approximately 3.1 meters. So if we go back to 3D view, we can change this height to 3.1 meters. And we can change, oh, that's way too much. That wasn't right. Did I measure it wrong? Let's measure that again. I'm not sure why it's doing that. Okay, that's fine. Let's just play around with the values until it gets to a point that we like. So let's try 2.5 meters. And it's almost there. We need to change the offset a little bit more. So let's change this to, let's try 40. A bit more, 30. Okay, I think that looks good. And we're gonna increase the height so that it doesn't just stop. It's gonna go all the way up into this this gutter. So let's increase this to 2,700 maybe. Too much. Okay, I think that looks fine. Even if you can see that there's a solid block here, it won't be very noticeable in the final render, so don't worry about that. Just make sure that this part connects into the gutter. And then finally we can change height 1 so that it follows the curve, the column up and bends towards the top. So let's increase this a little bit. 2,200. Bit more. Okay, so that looks good. So now we can repeat this. Also, sorry, we can actually extend this down as well so that it's a bit closer to the ground. But if we do that, we'll need to adjust the heights accordingly. So let's do that. We can change that by changing the elevation from level. So right now it's placed on the ground floor. If we reduce this elevation by, let's say, 300 millimeters, it'll shift the whole thing downward by 300 millimeters. So then to combat that, we can increase the heights that we set by 300 as well. So let's make this 2600 and make this, let's start making this 2900 and apply. Okay, there we go. So that's our downpipe. So if we had more columns, which your design will, you can just click on this downpipe, type CS, create similar, and you can just place it wherever your other downpipes would be. So that's the downpipes. So that concludes the Revit tutorial. There are some more changes that you can do to assist you with the visualization in the rendering component using Lumion, but I'll go over those in the Lumion video. So I hope that was helpful. The next video will be looking at using Lumion.